Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I am here with the Thrifted Thursday collaboration. This is hosted by Joanne with Joanne's DIY Life and Sabrina with Sabrina's Craft Nanigans. Okay, guys, so I have this candle holder that I had gotten at the Goodwill, gosh, when we lived in Cookville. So that was probably back in 2017. I wasn't sure if I was going to use the burlap ribbon, but I did use that bigger burlap roll. First thing is this thing needs cleaned. So I sprayed this puppy down with some Windex, and I'm coming in with this paper towel and I'm just cleaning off the dirt on this wood piece. I've had it for some time and it's been in my basement, so it was pretty dirty. I didn't use anything special on here. I just wanted to make sure that I got down into those little crevices and the detail on this candle holder would show. I just think it is a beautiful piece and I really liked the aged look of it. I mean, I could probably use some Murphy's oil soap on that and clean it up really good, and I might do that later. But you see here, there's a spot there where it looks like somebody tried to fill it with some wood filler and it just did not take. But I don't care. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to make a rustic farmhouse tree. Now, here is a little piece of a wine cork that I had used in another project. And I'm just cutting out the skewer stick that was actually stabbed in that side. And I'm going to just clean up the other end of it because that's the end I'm going to actually attach another skewer stick into so that I can make a large tree. That cork fits in there perfect. So this is just your regular skewer. I think this is like 12 inches. Yes, the skewer is a 12-inch bamboo skewer for kebabs and s'mores. I got this at Walmart for a pack of 100 for $4.68. I'm using my wood glue because of the wood stick and the cork for the wine cork. And this will stab in there and fit nicely and it won't go anywhere. The stick may break off if you're rough with it, but it's not going to come out of that cork. That wood glue is going to just really make that a permanent part of that wine cork. So now I have this jute ribbon and it is 5.5 inches wide. This is some thick. I could put my hand on there. You see that? This is some thick ribbon. It's more like a 5-inch roll of material, burlap material. And so here I'm just showing you it's 5 inches and I'm just going to pull one of those pieces of the burlap out to give me a straight edge, and it will be so I can kind of see just where it needs to be. I'm going to place my ruler at where I pulled that string out to create a straight edge, and I'm going to pull out another piece of that burlap string. I'm going to move my ruler down, and I'm going to measure it again at 5.5 inches. And I'm just using my little clay tool here that has a little hook on the end, and that helps me to reach in and grab that individual piece of burlap string so I can pull it out. I'm going to come in right where that string's pulled out, and you can see right there where I can just cut right along that edge, and it's going to give me a straight cut. It doesn't look like I'm cutting straight, but it gives me a straight cut. So I'm cutting 3 of these at 5.5 inches, and I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to come in and I'm going to trim up the edge here. I will seal these edges, but I'm going to come in and I'm going to do 5 inches. So I did 3 at 5.5 inches. Now I'm going to come in and do 3 at 5 inches, pull that string, and then cut me 3 of those out. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the same thing at 4 inches. When I get my pieces cut out, so I have 3 at 5.5 inches, 3 at 5 inches, 4 at 4 inches, 4 at 3 inches, and then 4 at 2.5 inches. And I'm going to come in with my Mod Podge and I'm going to just go all around the edges of where the burlap was pulled out. And you're just going to go ahead and you see here, once I cut the strip, I can come in and I'm going to pull that little string out, and that's going to give me my 3-inch and my 2.5-inch. So that's going to be easy there. And I'm going to come back in and glue all of those edges as well once I get that done. So coming in and just trimming it up, when you pull that string out, it gives you a nice little area that you can see where you can cut it. Once you get those all done, come back in and make sure you put enough Mod Podge on there to dry and keep your stuff together. Now, this is a string of beads from the Dollar Tree, and I needed to put one bead in between each of my little burlap pieces that I cut. So the total number of burlap was 3 plus 3 plus 4 is 10, plus another 8 is 18. So I'm going to need 18 beads. I glued one on the end, and I will just use this skewer from here on out to paint any of my beads. So I will paint some more after I get these done, and I'll come back and paint some more. But I need a total of 18 beads for the skewer. Now, you can put on as many as you want. You don't have to make the tree 12 inches like I did. Plus the base, oh my goodness, this is a very tall tree. So I'm coming in with some antique wax, and I'm just going to brush some of that antique wax right on there. And then I'm going to use the skewer that I actually glued in to the wine cork, and I'm going to just take a paper towel and wipe that down across that skewer stick so that the colors are all going to be the same. There's not going to be any naked wood. It's all dressed. How about that? There we go. A little rustic. Just buffing it out a little bit there with my paper towel. Now, this is the little extras that I had, and I'm just going to cut those in half. And so these are going to be basically little 1-inch squares, and I went ahead and glued the edges of that as well. I didn't use all of them, but I wanted to make sure that I had any small pieces for the tip of my tree. So here we have, I'm showing you all the main pieces that I did here. 3 inches, 4 inches, 2.5 inches, they're all there. And so now I'm just going to turn it upside down, and we're going to start stacking this onto the skewer that is glued into our little wine cork there. And so I'm going to glue that on, and I'm going to put a bead. We're going to glue the bead down. I'm going to find the center of my next piece and slide that right on down. And then we're just going to use our hot glue to secure these pieces together. And so it's a little dab of hot glue on the top and the bottom of each bead. And now I'm going to add another bead, add some more hot glue to the bottom and some to the top. And then I'll come in with my third 5.5-inch piece and put that right down. And I'm turning these squares so that each layer, the corners are poking out differently. So I'm going to add another bead, and now I'm going to my 5-inch squares, and I'm going to do the same thing with the 5-inch squares. And now I'm down to the 4-inch squares. So the 4-inch squares, I went ahead and folded it in half, and I wanted these to be a little fuller as we were getting up towards the top. So I'm just folding it, finding the center piece, and then I am going to rotate these 4 pieces around as I glue the bead in between them, and this is going to give a nice full tree as I'm working on this. Now you can layer them like I did in the beginning, just out flat, but looking at the tree now that it's done, I think I would have done all of them this way, where you fold it in half and you're twisting it. It just gives it a fuller look, and I just like that, the way the top part of that tree looks better than the bottom part. And since I had already glued it on, I wasn't going to take it off. I didn't want to damage the burlap because, it can pull and the glue is still drying on where I, excuse me, where I put the Mod Podge around the edges. But I just did not want to damage that. So now I'm coming in with the small pieces that I used, the little pieces that were left over and that I had trimmed, and I'm just going to layer those now going on top, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it, and I'm going to fold those in half just like I did the other one. And this is just finishing it up. This was a very easy project. It is a little time consuming in the beginning getting the prep work done for it when you're trimming the burlap, and you definitely want to use something around the edges of the burlap so that it will not fray and your tree will last. Otherwise, who knows, it might make it through the season depending on the quality of the burlap. This one is definitely a wide weave, and so it does come apart easy. And I want this to last. I don't want it to be a one season thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off, and we're going to take a peek at what this looks like now that it's done. Finishing this up by just putting one last piece on top, and then I'll just come in with my my wire cutters, and I'm just going to trim off the tip of that skewer there so that there is no pokey end sticking out. Now, I did not glue this in, I just set it in and it sits in there perfectly. I can pull it out and put a candle in it if I want to later.
All right, my friends, there you have it. Look at how tall this thing is. Oh my word. So that is actually a leg to a coffee table. It actually had other pieces that go into the bottom, and I had created that art piece out of that, and you can see just how tall this is. Now it's like our TV is 72 inches, so it's really big. You can see just how big that goes up. And then over here, that tree may look small, but it is really tall. The clock is, I think that's 2.5 feet. And so when you look at the clock as in compared, I mean, that is that's decent sized. Oh my goodness, I love the way it turned out.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Your time is precious and I know it. Don't forget to check out Sabrina and Joanna's channel in my description box below. It will be there along with the playlist of all the other wonderful creators that are joining this collaboration. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you've not subscribed, I hope you'll consider doing so now by hitting that subscribe button. And as always, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now.